I sell t-shirts, do 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 do. Kucinich flipped his vote on the healthcare bill. He must be a turncoat, a total sellout, a traitor. Bitch, please. Many of you out there are super disappointed with Kucinich flipping his vote on the healthcare bill. You were expecting him to hold out until the bitter end and go down in flames. People all throughout the internet and the blogosphere are spewing venom against Kucinich, saying that he's a total sellout, that he changed his vote for a simple ride on Air Force One, and that he doesn't support single payer anymore. None of which are true. I'm sorry, but you guys are being fucking ridiculous. You're being a bunch of whiny little babies about this whole thing. Welcome to political reality. Let's talk strategy now for a second. The healthcare vote was not an either this or single payer vote. Not voting for this bill would not have made a single payer system magically appear. And Kucinich's reasoning was that people are going to die if this bill doesn't pass, which is true. This does extend coverage to thousands of people. It doesn't cover everybody. The bill's not perfect. And he says that. And in fact, letting this bill go down in flames would be a victory for the Republicans and would lead to gridlock, meaning that single payer would be an even less likely option. Now, Dennis Kucinich was also the only one holding out for a single payer plan. And he squeezed as much blood from that stone as he possibly could. And to that, I say kudos. He held out, and as a result of his holding out, he got to tour the corporate media circuit. He got to talk about how much the bill sucked and why single payer was such a great option. He was able to do that for several days in a row leading up to the vote. He was able to talk on just about every fucking mainstream news show there is on TV. And he got to talk about single payer. And he also got to talk about the shortcomings of the bill on the corporate media. And then, after all of that, he announced that he was going to flip his vote, and he got to do it all over again. For the next 2 days, he did the media circuit again, talking on just about every fucking news show there is about why the bill sucked and why single payer is the best option. In fact, I would say that Kucinich was able to get more media coverage for single payer during the span of that 1 week than he was able to during the entire year that he ran for president in 2007 to 2008. And something else that I want to know, why is it that people on the left have such violent contempt for Kucinich when he's still on our side? Even Ralph Nader understands that Kucinich is still one of us. During the interview on Democracy Now! Between Kucinich and Nader both, Nader even went so far as to speak about the reasons why Kucinich needed to vote that way in order to remain an effective and elected member of Congress. Now, why is it that Kucinich, a person who's been a leader on single payer since the day he was born, is subject to scorn, but people like Max Baucus, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and all of those people, the people who block single payer from even being a part of the process to begin with, why are they all getting off scot-free? Shouldn't they be the ones who are subject to all this venomous anger? I think I've actually figured out the reason why people are so pissed off at Kucinich, but not at all the corrupt assholes in Congress. Kucinich is being punished for having done too good of a job. He's done so well for so long, when he finally strays from the straight and narrow, everybody freaks out. Because of his track record, people have unrealistic, nay, religious expectations for him. Kucinich isn't a religious leader. He's a politician. He's not going to die on a cross for your sins of inactivity. Yeah, that's right. Your sins of inactivity. Who's your congressperson? How did they vote on this healthcare bill? Are they a single-payer supporter? Do they talk about single-payer? No? Is that maybe because you haven't organized a voting constituency in your congressional district to make single-payer an issue? Is it because you haven't run primary challengers in their district against them? Why don't you start organizing your home district? Start lobbying your elected representatives. After that, you can whine and bitch about Kucinich not living up to your expectations. And that's what this is all about, too, is expectations. The reason why the Max Baucuses and Nancy Pelosi's of Congress aren't catching any flack right now is because you expect them to be corrupt. You need to hold everybody to the same standard that you hold Kucinich to. Expectations. Your expectations for Kucinich are that he should be a knight in shining armor for the entire progressive movement, and you've invested all of your hope in him. That's why you're disappointed. You should be investing your hope in you to change things. I actually had a conversation with somebody who said, I shouldn't have to run for office and be involved in electoral politics to have my voice heard. Sorry, Whiny McGee, but that's a lot like saying that farmers shouldn't have to work the soil in order to grow their crops. Reality is, you have to. So get to work. Now, why did Kucinich flip his vote? Some are saying that he did it for an airplane ride with Obama. To which I say, bullshit. Now, time for full disclosure. Dennis Kucinich was my boss from 2007 to 2008 during the presidential primaries. I've spent time with him, I've spent time with his wife, I've played with his dogs, I've lived in his neighborhood. I've worked with many of his friends. I feel like this gives me some insight, and while I don't know Kucinich personally, I wouldn't call him a friend, I do feel that I have enough insight to know whether he would be moved by a simple plane ride to change his vote on an issue of such national importance. Now listen up, because this is where shit gets real. Now Obama was flying around from district to district to talk up the healthcare bill, specifically in the districts of Democrats who were holding out and voting no. This, in effect, is campaigning against these representatives' re-election. Nancy Pelosi, as a Speaker of the House, has the ability to assign chairmanships. Now, Dennis Kucinich is the chairman of the Domestic Policy Oversight Committee. His committee hearings are the gold standard for congressional investigations. Now, while other dodunks in Congress are holding investigations about steroid use in Major League Baseball, Dennis Kucinich has been investigating real shit that actually matters, like the Wall Street bailouts, and the behind-the-doors going-ons at Goldman Sachs. Now, Nancy Pelosi was no doubt threatening Dennis Kucinich behind closed doors. Granted, I have no proof of that, it just makes sense, because it's happened before. Dennis Kucinich flipped his vote in order to avoid being Cynthia McKinney'd. The DNC machine was trying to cut his legs out from underneath him. And you can't do jack shit as an elected official when the party that you're running with is blocking you from re-election. For those of you not familiar with what happened to Cynthia McKinney, I suggest you go out and buy the movie American Blackout right now. Cynthia McKinney was drummed out of Congress not once, but twice by partisan hacks on both sides of the aisle. Upon winning her seat back after being drummed out of Congress the first time, the Democratic congressional leadership would not give Cynthia McKinney any of her credentials back, even though she'd served several consecutive terms prior to getting drummed out of Congress the first time. The Democratic congressional leadership said that she had to start over as a freshman. Since being drummed out of Congress a second time, Cynthia McKinney ran for president with the Green Party. While she's remained active in social justice, she hasn't done anything to affect national policy since. So rather than spewing venom at the people who are actually on our side, we should be organizing to take our government back from the people who have been opposing the progressive policy agenda from the get-go. We have not a right but a duty to self-governance, so get out there and get to work.